students, how are you? I hope all are good. Welcome back to another class. Today let we start English chapter number 70, My Best Friend. Mr. Nicholas said, "Where's Alex dear out on the crater?" said Mrs. Nicholas. "He will be all right. Toba is with him. Did he arrive?" "Yes, he's at the rocket station going to the test. Actually, I can hardly wait to see him myself. I have not really seen one since I left the earth 15 years ago. You can count films. Alex has never seen one, said Mrs. Nicholas, because he's moonborn and can't visit Earth. That's why I'm bringing one here. I think it is the first one ever on the moon." "It cost enough," said Mrs. Nicholas with a small sigh. "So, maintaining Toby is not cheap either," said Nicholas. Alex was out on the crater as his mother had said. By our standards, he was finely but rather tall for a 10 years old. His arms and legs were long and agile. He looked thicker and stubbier with his space suit on. But he could handle the lunar gravity as no earthborn human being could. His father couldn't begin to keep up with him. When Alex stretched his legs and went into the kangaroo lap, the other side of the outer side of the crater sloped southward, and the earth, which was low in the southern sky, where it was always as seen from Lunar City, was nearly full, so that the entire crater slope was brightly lit. So the slope was a gentle one, and even the weight of the space suit couldn't keep Alex from racing up it in a floating log that made the gravity seem not existent. "Come on, Toby," he shouted. Toby, who could hear him by radio, squeaked and bounded after. Alex, expert though he was, couldn't outrace Toby, who didn't need a spacesuit and had 4 legs and tendons of steel. Toby sailed over Alex's head, somersaulting and landing almost under his feet. "Don't show off, Toby," said Alex, "and stay in sight." Anna. So Toby squeaked again, the special squeak that meant yes. "I don't trust you, you faker," shouted Alex, and up he went in one last bound that carried him over the curved upper edge of the crater, falling down into the inner slope. The earth snake below the top of the crater wall, and once it was pitch dark around him, a warm, friendly darkness that wiped out the difference between ground and sky except for the glitter of stars. Actually, Alex was supposed to exercise along the dark side of the crate wall. The grown-up side it was dangerous, but that was because they were never there. The ground was smooth and crunchy, and Alex knew the exact location of every one of the few rocks. Besides, how could it be dangerous racing? So that when Toby was right there with him bouncing around and squeaking and glowing, even without the glow, Toby could tell where he was and where Alex was by the dark. Alex couldn't go wrong while Toby was around, tripping him when he was too near a rock or jumping on him to show how much he loved him, or circling around and squeaking low and scared when Alex hid behind a rock. When all the time Toby knew well enough where he was. Once Alex had laid still and pretended he was hot, and Toby had sounded the radio alarm, and people from Lunar City go there in a hurry. Alex's father had let him hear about that little trick, and Alex never tried it again. Just as he was remembering that he heard his father's voice on his private wavelength, "Alex, come back, I have something to tell you." Okay, so Alex was out of his spacesuit now and washed up. So you always had to wash up after coming in from outside. Even Toby had to be sprayed, but he loved it. He stood there on all fours, his little foot, long body quivering and glowing just a tiny bit, and his small head with no mouth, with 2 large glassed-in eyes, and with a bump where the brain was squared, until Mr. Nicholas sat with Toby. Mr. Nicholas was smiling. "We have something for you, Alex. It's at the rocket station now, but we will have it tomorrow after all the tests are over. I thought I had tell you now." From the art that a dog from Earth, son, a real dog, a Scotch Terrier puppy, the first dog on the moon. You won't need Toby anymore. We can't keep them both, and some other boy or girl will have Toby. He seemed to be waiting for Alex to say something. Then he said, know what a dog is, Alex. It's the real thing. Toby is only a mechanical imitation, a robot mouth. That's how he got his name. Alex Fawn. Toby's an imitation dad is my dog, not a real one. Alex, Toby is just steel and wiring and a simple postronic brain. It's not alarm. He does everything I want him to do, Dad. He understands me. Sure, he's alive, no fun. Toby is just a machine. It is just a program to act the way it does. A dog is alive. You won't want Toby after you have the dog. The dog will need a space suit, won't he? Yes, of course. But it will be worth the money and he will get used to it and he won't need one in the city. You will see the difference once he gets here. Alex looked at Toby, who was squeaking again, a very low, slow squeak that seemed frightened. Alex had out his arms and Toby was in them in a one bound. Alex said, "What will the difference be between Toby and the dog?" "It is hard to explain," said Mr. Nicholas, "but it will be easy to see. The dog will really love you. Toby just adjusted to act as though it loves you. But Dad, we don't know what's inside the dog. What is feeling up. Maybe just acting to." Mr. Nicholas frowned. "Alex, I will know the difference when you experience the love of living thing." Alex held Toby tightly. He was frowning to end. The desperate look on his face meant that he wouldn't change his mind. He said, "But what's the difference and how they act? What about now, how I feel? I love Toby and that's what counts." And the little robot Mart, which had never been held so tightly in all its existence, squeaked high and rapid squeaks, happy squeaks. Okay, so everyone, this chapter isn't here. I hope you all are very well understand full chapter. So we will meet you the next class. Thank you everyone.